Okay. Moving on to number 5. The update on Block Grants Advisory Committee vacancy. The update is no update. We still don't have an appointment and not sure when that will be. We are just down one committee member. There are some committee members that are due for lack of a better term, re-election. If you want to renew your reappointment, thank you. I can't, my brain not working today. Reappointment. There's a few of you should have received a letter from our city clerk. If you haven't already done so, received a letter from our city clerk, please let me know. And but I think you all know who you are. If you need me to tell you who you are, I can definitely do so by pulling up that email.
I just wanted to say that I almost not fill out the application, be reappointed. I contacted Michael Cordero and wanted to know if he wanted to appoint someone else, and he says absolutely not. So he said if he could remain on the block grant, I would appreciate it. So I just wanted to let you know I reapplied.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rosalie. The other ones that are up for reappointment are Angel Lopez, Tim Seifert, Jason Tamura.
And it looks like Isaac has joined us too.
Oh, wonderful. Hi.
I was playing with my computer for a little while and I said, wait a minute, there's a meeting going on.
All right,
sorry.
we are on number 5 of the agenda. So we are moving on to an update on existing capital and public service activities, and I will let Alicia take it away.
Okay, let me bring that up here. Okay, can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
So we have City of Santa Maria Recreation and Parks Department, the Chapel Plaza Rehab, which is a fiscal year 2020-21 project. So asbestos was found at the site, which kind of slowed down work that was going on the site. So they couldn't proceed until that was clear. So we're just waiting on more follow-up information from their project manager. The ADA improvement, pedestrian safety and accessibility improvement project. That's a
sorry. Can I interrupt you real quick?
Sure.
Sorry. The Chapel Plaza, there was no structure there, correct?
No, I believe Rosie Public Works had mentioned that it was in the ground.
It was in the ground. It was on,
So
yeah, it was in
pipes,
the ground.
like old asbestos
Yes.
pipes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't recall there being any kind of structure on that site. So
No, it was the underground. It was the pipes, and definitely not something that anybody expected. So that threw a wrench in the plans a bit and in our projections. I mean, I think that there's still projection is still that it'll be completed by the end of the year. I don't think that's an issue. It's just it delayed everything else.
So the ADA pedestrian safety and accessibility improvement project that's currently funded with fiscal year 21-22. So that project's going along. There's new sidewalk, curb, and gutters that have been added along Hancock College on South College. There's also sidewalk infill along the cemetery on South College, a sidewalk infill on the side of Fessler Junior High, and new ADA ramp support on College and Stoll and College and Battles. And not all of the projects, not all of the sites that are listed on here are covered with Cdbg. So it's a large project and there's other funding sources, but the majority of the Cdbg covered locations will be in the residential areas. So they've started on some of those and they're kind of getting into that a little more. Whoops. City of Santa Maria Recreation and Parks Department, Prescott Park, So Recreation and Parks Department is waiting for confirmation regarding the approval of their plans. So they're just trying to see if they're able to move forward once they get clarification. For the wharf hydrant replacement project, the insurance and bonds for this project were recently approved. So the work is supposed to get started on June 20th, next Monday, and it's not anticipated to be completed by the end of the fiscal year. So it'll be carried over, but the project won't take too long once we do get started. And then Capsule minor home repair, we received a client intake for the final project on June 6th. But we had addressed that the project will require a city permit for the exterior work, and that won't be received in time for the end of year deadline, which is June 15th. So interior work will be completed before the end of the fiscal year, and then so the agency might leave a portion of their allocation behind. And that was a fiscal year 21-22 project. Communify, which was originally from fiscal year 2020-21, they reported that they won't be able to expend about almost close to 7,000 of their allocation. And just a reminder, it's from fiscal year 2021, so they've had 2 years to expend the 71,000 that's allocated to them. Good Samaritan Shelter, that project's complete, so they're all closed out. And public service updates, everyone's been pretty good and on track, and our final invoices and reports are due this Wednesday, June 15th. So seems like everyone's pretty much on track for public services.
Hey,
Does
Alicia,
anyone-
it looked like on Communify, there was 23,345 in the balance. And then it was the one at Capsule was the 7,742.
Yeah, so that was last month's update.
And then, but Capsule, if they're at a 7,742, what did we award them? It was quite a bit of money, right? They've used most of.
For this year, I can't remember if it was 75 or if it
75,
was.
I believe.
Oh, okay.
But they've
Yeah.
done, I mean, they've used most of it.
Yeah, so and they were anticipating that project wouldn't require a city permit, but by the time they submitted it, it was a little too late for them to get the permit approved. And
No, I know all
so
about.
it was just cutting it close. And then Jim from Capsule had mentioned that typically it only takes a few days to get the permit back, but our building division said that it takes up to like a week or two now, because I guess they're just really busy.
Thank
So yeah. Does anyone else have any questions or need any other follow-up regarding the projects? All right. That's all for me.
Okay, so moving on to number 6, Cdbg CV funding in response to COVID-19. But not much has changed from last month. The Wi-Fi project will probably start off in July. They're still trying to finalize the bid process or bid documents to go out to bid. And then the Boys and Girls Club project is moving forward, and they really are trying to get done in the next, I would say about 6 weeks or so, just because they definitely want to have it up and running for the summer. And I know the summer technically has started for most kids, but just, you know, I'm sure Tim can attest to it. Delays are just taking place left and right when it comes to construction, but they're doing the best they can, and they've been pretty responsive and on top of things. So far so good on those 2 projects. Moving on to number 7, CDBG process for fiscal year 22-23, overview of city council annual action plan final approval. So the action plan went to the city council last Tuesday, June 7th. No questions, comments, concerns. I was prepared for some questions or comments by council because of the decrease in funding, the significant decrease in funding, where we had projected that we were going to receive the same as last year, and then we ended up getting $141,000 less. But no, it was, I think the council agenda report definitely answered any and all questions, and plus they have strong faith in the committee, and they knew that the contingencies had been adopted by not just the committee, but also reinforced by the council by adopting those proposed contingencies. So they were, no news is good news when it comes to council. So we didn't get anything back. So it was approved without any issue. And so it has been submitted to HUD. Any questions so far? All right, moving on to number 8, CDBG process for upcoming funding cycles. Discussion, application questions for fiscal year 23-24. So we bring this to the committee every year to discuss the application and if there are any changes to the application that the committee feels needs to be, if there are any questions that need to be addressed, that need to be modified, added, deleted. And so we look at it every year because every year we have a different perspective, different set of eyes, and sometimes things come up during the application review process and the site visit process that prompts us to reevaluate what we ask and how we ask it. So we're not expecting you to just have a full-blown discussion without any preparation, unless you have something in mind you want to address right off the bat. But we definitely want you to start thinking about that, because before you know it, it'll be application season again. So our notice of funding availability usually goes out at the end of August, beginning of September, and that means by then we usually have a final application that will go to the potential subrecipients at that time. So we don't have much time. We only have a couple of months to really look at the application and try and make any changes that we feel are necessary. So unless you have something right off the bat that you want to address, we can definitely come back to the committee either in July or August and be ready to go with any comments, questions, or concerns about our application. But I definitely, since it was a lighter meeting tonight, we figured we would bring it up now and see if there was anything right off the bat that you wanted to share. Rosalie?
Yes, we could go to Zoom grants and then review the application there. Okay.
Absolutely. We can also send you a template of it
Okay.
through email, if that's easier.
Oh, that'd be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send out a template to everyone. But yeah, if there are any questions that you remember that might have been an issue, like during the site visits, or like if we didn't get any clear explanations on some, just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Jose?
Hi, yes, I had a quick remark about suggestions for maybe this upcoming cycle. Something that I recalled from this past cycle was, it wasn't a particular question within the application, but it was a question that I saw that was being asked within the groups interviewing the applicants. The question was that basically, the question goes, oh, if you don't get the funding, how will you be funded? I think it's a good question because it gives you perspective of what the agency would do. But at the same time, it gives, sorry for the background noise, it gives a misconception of what of the need that an agency has, right? Like if you were to ask me, oh, well, Jose, if you're not going to get a certain scholarship or something, how will you do it? I'll try to come off as the applicant, as resilient, as positive, and I'll say, well, I can maybe apply here or apply there. But at the same time, then it wouldn't be fair for the applicant if then that's taken kind of like against them to say, oh, well, he doesn't really need the money because he's going to apply somewhere else. That was just something that I thought about heavily after the past cycle. And I thought maybe it was something we could talk about. I'm not saying we don't have to ask that question, but I think maybe it's just worth noting. It's like it's two-sided, where maybe it can be more beneficial to either reword that question or just not ask that question. But that's just something I wanted to put out there.
No, that's a good point, because in all reality, CDBG shouldn't be used to sustain a program. It should be meant to augment a program. So to ask an agency, what will you do, is very telling when they say, oh, well, we'll just serve less people, or we won't be able to serve more people, versus we're going to have to just cut the program entirely. So it's very telling, because then you want to start to wonder, if without CDBG, you don't have a program. That's pretty scary, because there's no promises that, you know, this will be a consistent stream of income for you. So that's a great point and a good question to ask. Anybody else off the top of your head, or anything that came up?
It's Ron, and again, I haven't had a chance to overlook this, but maybe a question in relation to what Jose was talking about is, should you not get the funding, how would that affect you?
That's good. I'm writing this down. Should you not get the funding, how will it affect you? How will it affect you and the program, or your agency and the program?
Or maybe even kind of what ramifications would be incurred?
Okay.
I think we always said, ask them if you don't receive the fundings, with the program continue on, and if it does, how would you fund it, or how is it being funded? So, and I think that's an important question.
You're right. It is.
And
Any
here
other-
oh, I was just gonna add here the site visit questions, and I'll send these out too. That way the information's still fresh and you guys could compare it with the application. So I'll send that out.
Yeah, there might be questions in the application that are better addressed in a site visit, and there might be site visit questions that are better addressed in the application. So yeah, we just want to hear from you. Like I said, we learn from doing this every year, and every year we reevaluate to see how we can do things better and more efficiently and effectively. Last year, we realized that there were some issues with their projected numbers. So then we implemented a table that basically did not allow them to do certain things, so that in the end, we would get the number we were looking for based on math. But even then, it was a little, it posed some challenges for some, but we just definitely want to try and make, we don't want to necessarily make the application any more complicated than it needs to be. We actually want to simplify it, but at the same time, we want to be able to collect as much information as possible, so that when you're reviewing it, you have everything you need to make the best assessment possible as far as their need and also their capacity as an agency. So if there aren't any other comments on this topic, we'll definitely bring it back, but we just wanted to bring it up and start, planting that seed that we will be coming back to this. And of course, if you have any additional ideas, thoughts, comments, that we greatly appreciate it. Also, something that was brought up last month at the May meeting was the set aside, the council set aside. And we had a small discussion about it, and the plan was to bring it up to our city manager and ask about that set aside. And I have not had the opportunity to meet with our city manager. We usually meet with him once a quarter, and that won't happen until July. So I don't have any additional information, but because we discussed it in May, and we said we were going to discuss it again this month. We wanted to include it in our agenda, but I don't have much more info. I'm hoping to have more info in July. But being that we did have a few committee members that were not able to attend last meeting, any thoughts on the council set aside? There was a discussion of maybe asking the city manager again if the council would be willing to let go of its set aside, or if there were modifications to that set aside. Like, for example, maybe we could propose a few agencies that would receive that set aside. Just different ways of being, or maybe we could propose that the set aside be given to whoever is ranked the highest. So for example, if the committee funds the first top 10 after that Survey Monkey is done, then the set aside, the recommendation would be that the set aside would go to numbers 11, 12, however it shakes out, but go from whichever one's left going down, instead of funding people from all that were ranked low. So there were just a different suggestions. Patricia.
Yeah, so I just, if we're gonna are we having a discussion?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to have a discussion, although again, the last meeting, I was hoping to have some time to chat with our city manager, and we have not had that. We're kind of knee deep in budget right now. So
Well, maybe,
it's been a little difficult.
Yeah, maybe if there's things that folks feel strongly about, you can take that to the city manager as well, and that can possibly, I don't know, influence a decision one way or another. But all that to say that I do think that it is important that I love that the city of Santa Maria has this process, and I feel that to honor the fact that they are leaving funding decisions to community members, that the set aside should be allocated to groups that the committee has recommended for funding. I think that right now there's this game that we're playing that we don't fund X because we know that X certain council member and X is going to go ahead and fund them anyways, and not and I don't know if that's a fair analysis of proposal.
So I'll chime in on that. So I understand that, and I think maybe for the first couple of years of the set aside, that I think that might have been the case, but I think now we've pretty well refined our approval process and our review process. And part of the reason I recommended the Survey Monkey kind of thing that we do was to get away from that, so that there was kind of some anonymity with regard to who each of the members of the committee are voting for. And so I don't think that's the case. I think historically, the applicants who are on the bottom, on the lower end of the list, are just by virtue of the merit and the weakness of their applications, that's why they end up where they're at. And I haven't agreed with the set aside since it was adopted, but we've taken this up to city council multiple times since they've done it, and we've voiced our objection to it. I don't know that we're going to get anywhere, at least under Mayor Patino's administration. So as long as Mayor Patino's around, I don't think we're going to expect to see anything. I think maybe this is something for somewhere down the line when new city council takes over, and we have new leadership in that position, because I just don't feel like it's worth even bringing up. It goes up for it, and it's kind of entrenched in the current committee or in the current council, and I just don't see it changing. And I almost don't want to even bother city manager with it, because this has been back and forth with the manager and the city attorney. So that's where I'm at with it. But you know, I'll whatever you guys think, I'm all ears.
Tim, you have your hand up, and then
Yes.
Robert.
I've never had the issue with the set aside money. These are our elected officials and we are appointed. I've always, you know, we're not elected. They are they're the policymakers. We only give them what we think, as far as after we do our research as to who we believe is a worthy recipient. They have no obligation to have us as a committee, and the city has no obligation to give the money to these nonprofits. The city can build parks, they can take the money into their coffers, they can do with it as they please. So I think as a city, I think we have a really good policy of using this money in the best way possible. And that's why this committee was started to begin with, to help the city council in their guidance as to who is worthy one year or the other. Some years a committee is worthy, and the other years we deem them not worthy. And I don't think there's a huge thing, as Patrice said, about we're not funding one because we know that it will get funded. I don't think there's ever a guarantee of who the city council will fund or who will fund. I think that comes as we vote. So I'm not sure why we're looking at this. It's a small amount set aside so that the decision makers can make a decision without a lot of, if they change anything we do, it's a snowball effect. Once they start picking and choosing on what we choose, it's impossible, because you take away from one agency and you give to another, and this is going to create a snowball effect that just doesn't work, and they know that. So this is a way that they can have a little bit of money that the city that it's their right to have and to distribute, so that they can give it as they see fit. So I've never had the big issue with it. I think as a committee, we still give out the majority of the money, and we do a heck of a good job with that. And we vet the people that we go out, and we do a heck of a job looking at these people and taking the information. So I'm not sure it's really worth pursuing. That's for me. I'm one of 15 for different reasons than Ryan. I just think if that's the parameters that the city council wants, I'm their appointee, and I'm going to abide by that. And it doesn't bother me personally. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. And I'm sorry, I'll let Rosie call on people who have their hand up. I don't have a.
Oh, no, it's okay. Bob Doyle?
Yeah, I would just say on this year was the worst year the city council ever handled it. And part of that was because one council member wasn't there and they had additional monies and they were going back and forth and nobody could add. But on the whole, I think it's important that they have this money because the only thing I would think we might want to change is that they don't give money to anybody we already chose, because that's happened sometimes, and look for organizations that, you know, that they feel comfortable with to bring up, giving us more organizations. But I think we should still stay with the council. It'd be nice to know why HUD cut our money so much, because that's really the biggest problem we have. And I'm sure that has to do with population, state money, and all the rest as they drop it down. But I support keeping it the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, after hearing from committee members, it sounds like this may not be something I should even bring up to the city manager unless I hear others who feel like it's worth bringing it up. I'm okay either way.
Yeah, like I said, my vote is to not. I don't know if we want to vote on it or whatever's easiest for you, but or if it's so informal that we don't require a vote. But like I said, I feel like it's a moot point right now, and I'll recognize Patricia. I see she has her hand up, so I'll.
Thank you. Yeah, so I agree, Ryan, with I think your assessment of how things have changed with the new tool that we've been using. You know, I guess I would just like to say I disagree that we shouldn't bring it because we know the result. I think it's always important just to have it on record that this continues to be the result. So, but I'll go with majority.
Thank you. So Rosie, do you want to vote on it or?
Well, we can't technically vote on it because we don't have it as an action
Okay.
item.
Okay.
But what I can do is I can just, the next conversation I have, we can feel it out. I can feel it out. And if it seems like an appropriate time to bring it up, I could definitely bring it up. We can also agendize it and agendize it as an action item for next month's meeting.
I don't even think that's necessary, to be honest with you. Maybe we just table it for further discussion. If somebody, you can just bring it up next meeting, and if somebody who maybe isn't here tonight wants to discuss it or get deep into the weeds on it,
Yeah.
we can take it from there. But it doesn't seem like there's a great deal of push for it. So I don't want you wasting city manager's time with it if it's not that big a deal right now.
Okay, we've got some time.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we've got some time. All right. So that is it for number 8. So now we're moving on to number 9. Ryan, I'll send it back to you.
Are there any reports from committee members? Nobody? Doesn't look like it. And does anybody have any proposed agenda items for the next meeting? All right, and then if no one has anything else, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. It's 6:08, so that's what I got. I'll see you all next month. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, everybody.
Turn it off. Okay. Oh, hi, Rosie.